That's what's in the code. So why have a code? Why have the people sit down, do the painstaking work of saying this is the standard that we need to keep? If you're going to take people's children and keep them in school in order for them to learn, this is the standard that must be kept. Why have people do all that if you're not going to follow it? Now, they say, okay, you are human beings, so the chances of you following it every day then are slim to none. So we will send you people who will come and check to make sure that you actually do it. Now, this is my problem. These people who are supposed to actually be going regularly to check and then come back with reports and say, actually, you know what, in my region, schools 1 to 150, they're okay, they're doing fine. I found 30 schools that are beyond code. Shut it down. Why do we have a problem with being radical in the details, but then now when things happen that are so tragic, then we want to cry? That's why this story, why you should brace for more school fires under the state's watch, makes sense. Because 1 + 1, my brother, is not 7. It is 2. In the last 16 years, you didn't do what you hired experts to tell you to do.
Which they did.
And they did it. And in those last 16 years, we have had over 200 students die in fire. I'm not talking about other things, in school fires. Now, do you understand when I say 1 + 1 = 2? So, we need to be radical in the details, because that is where the devil lies. Shut it down. Standards. You have initiated them. Keep them. If you cannot have a secondary school or whatever school, I hear people are even sending their children to boarding school at the age of 9. Okay. If you must, there are certain standards you must keep. If you cannot, shut it down. Children dying in the manner in which they died yesterday or 2 years ago or 4 years ago should not be the story we should be telling.
And I think as we have this discussion as well, we must start having conversations on normalizing parents being part and parcel of visiting facilities that are in school.
Oh, don't even get me started on that one.
I want to be a parent where I will go to a school, go to a dormitory and see the bed where my child is sleeping. I want to see the exit and entry points of that dormitory.
I'm sorry, on that note, there are many dorms that have an entry, no exit. That's just a point for you to remember.
I want to look at the size of the windows in that dormitory. I want to look at the plans of that dormitory, the capacity that that dormitory should have vis-a-vis the actual number of students and children in that dormitory. And I think that information as well, Ndu, is something that should be standard and printed outside that dormitory so that students themselves have that information and can raise a concern whenever that is flouted. You know why? Because for a very long time we've looked at students as children who do not have an opinion. But if we normalize it, that a student is able to call out nonsense in schools and that we are able to deal with that, then we are at a position to address these things way on time. We need to be told when children are going to school. It is good to tell us that we need to buy a bus, but we equally need to be told during this term, before midterm, there will be a fire drill, and we invite PTAs, we invite parents to be part and parcel of that program. We equally need to be told as parents that during this period, we will have investigators or guys who will come and look at our fire hydrants and see if they are up to date, because those things do expire.
Exactly.
You know, we need as well to be told in this school, we have OSHA here, people who've been trained. Yolanda is one of them, right?
Yes.
We have students who've been trained, especially the prefects, who know how to use fire hydrants, who know where the fire assembly point is. I'm going to ask you, in your school, do you know where fire assembly is? Where your child runs to in case there's fire?
Because it is me now, I know where. In fact, in the building I see. Yeah. Now there are 2 schools in question here, and I have to think. I've seen one in the administration block. But because I've never been allowed to go to the dorms, I don't know if one exists.
Yes.
I could ask them.
So here's the question. Do these children even know where to run to whenever there's fire?
Do they know how to engage a fire extinguisher?
No, they don't.
I should ask them today. Do you know how to engage a fire extinguisher?
You should ask.
When it happened. Do you know how to engage one? Has somebody taught you? Do you know what to do? Do you know who your fire marshal is, for example?
Exactly. Because we are here looking at, we want these kids to have an A, but you're not making everything that is conducive for them to have that A. A bright student, an A student, has died in a fire that could have been avoided. So what quality of education are you giving when you can't assure this child is able to start and end and get that A?
Why is it difficult, Dennis, for us to be radical? Because it seems that that's the only language that is understood.
Yeah.
Why is it difficult to be radical? Why is it difficult to say that this is the set standard? These are the agents that we have employed to ensure that that standard is upheld. Why is it difficult? Is it because of money? Because I go to your school and then you tell me, I beg, just take this money, you relax, everything is okay. So you sell the soul of children and a system for 30 pieces of silver. Why is it difficult for you to say, you know what? What will be on my head in the event of a tragedy is life.
Yeah.
Not what I'll buy with this money that you're giving to me. So if you don't meet the standard, I have to report it.
I have to close you down.
And beyond that, when you take it to the next person, why is it so difficult for them to say, you know what? We have set standards. You have not met them. You cannot operate. Because tell me one. Tell me what. I know that there were some schools last year, CS or Gamba said, you know, if you don't, because people were trying to do lip service to tell us that they were actually getting something done, then they said, okay, they're not going to open. Eventually, they were given the license to go back to school. But these ones, where things like this happen, when you have not ensured certain things, why is it so difficult to say, excuse me, as the bell tolls, we are not opening this school until you meet and maintain. You see, it's not just meeting, because you know you can meet for me today, I come.
Yeah.
But then what if I showed up randomly on the 17th of July and asked you, hey, sis, how far? How am I going to be sure that what I gave you the green light for is still the standard? You see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The guy with the switch comes back at 12, whether there's somebody watching or not, and puts on the switch. Comes back at 4, puts on the switch and fills his report, because not that somebody is watching him, because he knows that in the absence of the fulfillment of his duty, there will be danger. Until we reach that level of responsibility and accountability, there will be more fires. There will be more destruction. There will be more death. Am I sounding sensational? Yes. Because until we do, we will continue crying. We will continue begging God to have mercy. We will continue hoping that things get better. But I think there's even a point where God says, yes, I understand. You need me to come down. But you know what? I've given you all that you need. So just do it. Do it. Do it. I'm thinking about the impossible task that father who was stripping yesterday, not to tell anybody, the impossible task of coming to terms with any kind of reality that his daughter is dead. And then you want to come and tell that person in the image of somebody else tomorrow that the same thing has happened. Impossible. So when you think about it like that, then you will say, yes, be sensational, make noise, shout on the radio on SpiceFM, do the noise, make the noise. But something has got to give. Can you imagine? We were in this room.
Yeah.
With maybe different people in 2021 shouting about precious talent and saying, how do you put children in a school and then you enforce it with chicken wire? We were shouting. We made noise. We said, no, this cannot happen. We next one made noise again. Now we are here. In the Russia, we cried and we said, how can this happen? We cried again. Now we are crying again. And you have the panacea. But you choose not to engage